Good morning, everybody. I'm in a brand new location, and today I need to talk about some of the new stuff coming to Dungeons & Dragons Online. Now, I haven't posted a video on this channel for a whole bunch of reasons, but the long and short of it is there's some new stuff coming back, so I have to talk about it. And that new stuff is the Monk. Monk is getting pretty much entirely reworked within the next patch, with the anniversary coming around, with the end of the year of the dragon also bringing us the Dragon Disciple Monk archetype. And so I kind of wanted to go over those two things and give my thoughts and opinions. Now, we knew about this a while ago, and I wanted to make an opinion piece earlier, but I was like, oh, I'll wait for Lamania, and then we'll test it on Lamania and get some feedback about it. And the problem is you can't test it on Lamania because, like, literally nothing works. So conceptually, it's all here, but nothing really works in the trees. So we're going to do the quick and dirty once-over of, like, what's actually going on, and you guys can form your opinion. I'll give you mine, and we can kind of talk about it. But the long and short of it, of what they are doing here with this update, is just generally hitting the points here. They are removing the combo system entirely. No more combo system whatsoever. The goal is that you want to do a thing, you just press the button. Some people are pretty upset about this. They generally like the combo system. I personally think the combo system's kind of whatever. I just personally don't really care about it. I find that there's no visual indicator for the combo system. There's no like special UI, things like that, stuff that would make it fit better. And I personally have never really wanted the combos in Monk. For some people, they feel like it feels Monk, but there's nothing in any pen and paper edition that's Monk, so I just never really understood why they wanted to kind of shoehorn it in there. So just moving it into just buttons you press, personally, I think is a better decision, but not everything is kept, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then also they wanted to make it so everything's a bit more broad. So one of the problems with Monk previously is that you either have Shintao, hand wrap Monk, edged Monk, so that's either Shuriken or like some type of sword with Ninja Spy, and then you had Quarterstaff Monk with the Henshin Mystic. So they kind of like changed the paradigm a little bit. You can use any weapon type with any individual tree. They're just kind of more themed. So you have the Ninja Spy, which is more like poison, direct damage, sneak attack, and that sort of thing. You have the Shintao tree, which is kind of, I don't really know, it's kind of like general damage and good stuff. It's got some stuns that it still had before, but it's kind of just general damage and stuff. And then you have the Henshin Mystic, which is still also general damage, but it's got extra key generation, and it has a little bit more kind of the mystical side with more elemental damage, among other things. Quick addendum, future editing Strimtom here. I was just checking because one of the goals was to make the trees like less expensive, and after just shoving all the points in, all the trees are more expensive. So that's another thing they do need to fix, is to make the trees less expensive. So I'm going to be posting my suggestions in the actual thread itself. And for people that are curious about the things that I think need to change, in case you don't want to watch like the whole video, I'll just put a link to like my post below so you can just like quickly zoom through that if you want. So the real question is any of this stuff good? Is it better or is it worse? My personal opinion, reading over all of it, generally it's going to be better for the average player. If you're somebody who is not familiar with Monk, you were always intimidated because there's too many different things going on, I think you're going to have an easier time with this. So first, pretty much anything that used to say just Wisdom only is now Strength, Dex, or Wisdom. So if you want to be a Strength Monk, Dex Monk, Wisdom Monk, all of these are just kind of work together pretty easily. On top of that, so that's any ability in the tree. So like, for example, like Flashbang, it's now using Strength, Dex, or Wisdom, when it didn't before. Or in the Shintao tree, you now have like Kukendo, the stun, which is still Wisdom. I thought it was Strength, Dex, or Wisdom. I guess not. Maybe not. I don't know. But they are making a lot more openings there with a lot of the different abilities. So again, Touch of Death, things like that. And on top of that, not only is there Dex hit and damage out of the Ninja Spy tree, so you can play Dex hit and damage pretty much right away, but on top of that, you also have Henshin Mystic, which gives you Wisdom to hit and Wisdom to damage. Now, this is pretty big, because it means that you don't have to deal with getting Wisdom to hit and damage out of other places. You don't have to own Falconry, which is really annoying and tedious, so you can just kind of have this right away, which is really nice. It's built into the character. They also added a trance as well for all those Wisdom users that want to use it. So you're going to be pretty highly encouraged to use Wisdom, I think, most of the time on Monk, but there's a few situations where you probably wouldn't. So general overview of some of the changes. I'm going to try to do this in game so you have a visual representation of it, but in the Shintao tree, anything that said hand wraps just doesn't. So now it's +2 attack and damage while centered in the Shintao tree as opposed to with hand wraps, which is just a little bit nicer. And then on top of that, they have a few additions here. So again, some of the finishing moves have just come into the tree. So the light finishing move that was light, that would heal everybody around you is now going to just be a button on a 6-second cooldown. You just press the button and it does the effect. Same thing with Hands of Harm. is the Dark attack. Again, it's just going to be a button you press in the tree, and then there are, of course, the upgrades that go along with it. So generally just trying to make stuff easier. Not everything is staying in the transition. I believe there are still a couple effects that people are kind of wanting there to be. So for example, in Ninja Spy, you have kind of the nauseate effect, which is still here in Shadow Flurry, which is pretty good, but it's not like the exact effect that some people would have wanted, especially since people liked their auto crit from, I think it was Earth, Dark Earth, which is not present here. And then on top of that, you also have, actually, is that it? Is there anything missing? I think it's just Earth, Dark Earth is what people really want to see. But there are a couple other abilities. There's no Breath of the Fire Dragon anymore, things like that. Nothing really crazy. Additionally, there used to be an elemental key strike in each tree, and with the elemental key strikes, you could take one of the many different abilities. You could have Unbalancing Strike and Fists of Iron and Eagle Claw attack if you really wanted all three. Now it's only in Xintao, so you can only get one of them, which I think for many is a step down, because people like having more buttons to press and more versatility, especially because Unbalancing Strike allows you to sneak attack monsters, which is quite good. And Knock the Sky also makes it so enemies are doing less damage, which is also good. And also Fist of Iron, just a really high damage attack, which is also good. So people want to be able to take multiple of these. I don't think it'll be too hard to fit it into these trees, but again, we'll kind of see as it goes. Generally, for me, I think these trees are a huge improvement. Xintao is pretty much entirely the same. They moved Quick Strike in here, so it's just WoW centered, so you just get this instead of with Quarterstaff, just with anything you get extra Double Strike, which is pretty sweet. Again, just a bunch of general abilities. They added some multi-selectors in here to make things a little bit more generic. So again, just kind of good stuff. I wouldn't really stress about it too much. Ninja Spy is where they made quite a few adjustments. They put just a ton of melee power in here, melee power up in there. They added some DCs. They added a whole bunch of other stuff. You can now get Archer's Focus if you want for the extra ranged power, because you can now pick up an extra 50 range power plus, it says 10% range power. I think that's just 10 range power. I don't think they have a multiplier. They changed Shadow Double into a usable attack that just goes off all the time. So is it better? Certainly better. Is it amazing? I don't know anything about Ninja Spy. The only people that played Ninja Spy are Shuriken users, and Shuriken users only use it for the capstone. Most Shuriken users are actually using tier 5 of the Horizon Walker tree instead of using this. So maybe Shuriken users will actually use this tree. I don't know. Time will tell. And then Henshin Mystic was kind of just like a weird tree. It was pretty useful if you're playing a Quarterstaff guy, because you could take your Quarterstaff all the way up to the level cap, or all the way up to the cap here, get the extra attack speed, and it felt pretty good generally. But there were some limitations. You were pretty weak defensively. You couldn't really do a whole lot about that. Even though you had a good amount of dodge, you just didn't have any magic resistance rating, so you get blown out. On top of that, you're pretty reliant on the Cauldron to deal a lot of your damage, which had a high cooldown. So they've kind of made a few adjustments. Number one, it's right here. You have Exemplar, which gives you attack speed with quarterstaves, so you don't have to wait till level 20 to get this. Huge quality of life. It means you don't have to multi-class with Rogue, so Pure Monk is on the table. On top of that, Cauldron of Flame is now way earlier and gives you most of the stats of Cauldron of Flame, but also you can get it to have a shorter cooldown timer. So instead of it being on a 1 minute cooldown, it can be on a 30-second cooldown, and this lasts 30 seconds. So for raids, DPS phases, it kind of has 100% uptime, which is pretty cool, meaning it can be a little bit better. Other than that, you got some just extra attacks here, like a freeze if you happen to be in dark, or the kind of buffs, so the concealment buff from air, light, air, or the mana cost reduction buff from water, light, water, or you can grab an attack for the dance that you used to get from earth, wind, and fire from being at the cap. So again, a lot of the better abilities are preserved in terms of which one is going to be better, whether you want to go light or dark. If you want healing, you're going to go light. If you want more crowd control, you're going to go more dark. So I like the fact that there's a little bit of flexibility. Is it perfect? No, there's still some adjustments that need to be made, and I'll probably talk about that closer to the end of this video, but in general, if you're somebody who's a little bit scared of Monk, I think you're going to find it easier to get into. There's just like fewer things you need to know. You just have to press the buttons that are directly in front of you, which is pretty nice. And if you think the stuff in Henshin Mystic looks cool, but you want to use a quarterstaff, or you want to use a hand wraps, or you want to go Whirling Steel Strike and just pick up longswords and slam people while using incinerating waves, because that sounds awesome. Maybe you want to use Flame Blades from Druid and try to throw it in and do an all-fire monk build. Something you can do a little bit more flexibly now, which I think personally, I find that very, very interesting. And so I think these changes generally are going to be, pretty good for the game and pretty good for monks in general. However, that is not the only thing. As I mentioned before, we have an archetype to look at, which is I wasn't on the first page, Dragon Disciple. So Dragon Disciple is a monk. And I wasn't really sure what to expect with this, but basically they're kind of giving us Spellcaster Monk, which is something that we've kind of not always wanted, but a lot of people have wanted for a long time. They've wanted the Keycaster archetype to be able to use the key spells, constantly just be blasting out things. And it kind of does that a little bit, so we'll go into it. So first, as a Dragon Disciple, you lose out on a bunch of things, mostly the high-level monk stuff: Quivering Palm, Empty Body, Perfect Self, Diamond Body, and Diamond Soul. This is monks basically transcending into pseudo, like, elemental celestial creatures, and that doesn't really make sense for a Dragon Disciple because you want to be more dragon adjacent. So instead, they get Flight of Kings, so you can sprout wings and jump through the air instead of Abundant Step. This is a straight-up downgrade over Abundant Step, but there's got to be something different about them, so, you know, whatever it is, what it is. Instead, they actually get mana. They get mana and spells, which is kind of neat. They're also monk bonus feats. They gain the spell focus feats, mobile spellcasting and combat casting. Don't ever take these. Both of these 2 feats down here are terrible, but they get these ones. And then the feats that they can't take is basically all the shuriken feats, the range feats, and some of the melee combat feats, because they're kind of meant to be more like kind of castery hybrid as opposed to be more defensive, so they're supposed to be more offensive. So they have a weird spell progression where they actually start with spells at level 1, and then they get their second level spells at 6, their third level spells at 10, and their fourth level spells at 15. Again, kind of a weird progression, but it'll make sense when you actually get the chance to see it here. So I'm going to log into my Dragon Disciple. So they get, like, spells. They're kind of a neat spellcaster, which is pretty interesting. They have to be centered to use their spells, and they cost spell points. So they actually do get spell points that will scale off of wisdom. However, they also have a lot of key abilities. So it's not like you won't be using your key for anything. They're kind of a bit of a hybrid, kind of a combo between the two, which is pretty interesting. So in terms of their actual spell list, at level 1, you have the Draconic Burst spells, which is how you do damage, on top of having Shield, Obscuring Mist, Jump, Longstrider, Pass Without a Trace, Cause Fear, and Resist Energy. Kind of elementally defensive, movement-based dragon stuff. So kind of monk adjacent, the fear stuff because you're a dragon, stuff like that. Level 2, you get the next spell, Acolyte's Breath, which is a dragon breath. So Draconic Burst is you just explode and deal damage around you. It's pretty straightforward. Acolyte's Breath is a dragon breath attack. Draconic Burst, which is the next level spell up, is a burst around you where you deal damage. And then same thing, Draconic Devastation. On top of that, you're also picking up like Elemental Weapons and Protection from Energy, just good spells. Water Breathing, because why not? Blur and Gust of Wind. We got Haste, Displacement, Fear, Cyclonic Blast, Protection from Elements, and Greater Elemental Weapons. And the level 4 spells gets really, really interesting, because the level 4 spells get you to pick up Freedom of Movement, Protection from Element's Mass, Death Ward, True Seeing, but then Howl of Terror, that's a fear spell, and a very powerful crowd control spell at that. Chain Lightning, Cone of Cold, Blade Blast, Fireball, Black Dragon Bolt, and Poison Breath. The Draconic Disciple gets to kind of specialize into one type of dragon if they want. Actually, you don't really get one type of dragon because you actually get access to all of it and everything's universal, but you basically get to kind of dip your toes in the different elements of the dragons, whether it's red for fire or black for acid. And so you kind of get a one step down from pinnacle spell. So you get like the second best lightning spell, the second best cold spell, the second best fire spell, the second best acid spell, and I think this is the best poison spell, which just goes to show how bad poison is, but what are you going to do? I guess you can't get multi-vial. And then you have the actual tree itself. So one of the things that you have to understand about Dragon Disciple, they drop Henshin Mystic and then get Dragon Disciple because Henshin Mystic is very spellcastery based, so it kind of makes sense that they kind of drop the spellcastery stuff for the spellcastery thing in Dragon Disciple. But this tree is one of the few times I've seen SSG do hybrids right. And let me explain what that means. A lot of the times when SSG makes a hybrid tree, they kind of like gently tiptoe around the things that are actually like good. They kind of say, oh, we'll have a little bit of spellcasting and maybe we'll have a little bit of melee, and you know they'll try to kind of even it out so that way you have to take a little bit of both. But with this tree, they just give you everything you want all the time. Is it going to be good? Yeah, it'll be good for leveling, and it does scale. But is it going to be good? Harder question. So right away, we got the core, which says that you can use your wisdom to hit, and then you get wisdom to damage at level 2. So you can use wisdom to hit and damage right away with this character, so you can be pure wisdom. And you can use clubs and scepters while centered. This is important because pretty much every spellcasting item is a scepter in this game. So if you want to be like full spellcaster, it's not going to cause you to be uncentered, which is important. Also, you get melee power and spell power for every core in the tree. Then, going into Way of the Mighty Dragon, they give you Spellcraft and Attack, so you actually get a lot of hit chance just from being in the Dragon Disciple, which is nice. Double Strike as well as True Seeing as you get higher level. Fist of the Dragon, where you basically slam the ground and do an AoE damage that has some extra things. Actually, I don't know if it's AoE. It says in a small area, but actually haven't tested it yet. I probably should have tested that. Either way, it's just an attack. You're probably not going to use this one because it's kind of slow. It's going to be one of those things that's really cool, but it is a little bit slow for the actual attacking. So you're not going to use this as endgame, but it's kind of neat to press. Way of the Mighty Dragon 3, which just gives you some more stats, as well as more maximum catch levels with some of your spells. And then you have the Capstone, which gives you even more maximum catch levels, Wisdom, Imbue Dice, and other things. Because this character is all about getting a whole bunch of general spell power, melee power, Imbue Dice, and just kind of go into town. So, what do you actually use with this? I know the stubs also aren't like nice to look at. It's not clean, but this is what we got. On the left side of the tree, you have your spells. Lesser Draconic Burst spell-like ability, Acolyte's Breath spell-like ability, Draconic Burst spell-like ability, and then the Draconic Devastation. So all 4 of the spells that they actually get out of the tree here, these new spells, not only do you get the spells, but you also get spell-like abilities. So let's say you wanted to take Draconic Devastation, red, you're playing fire, but you also want to Delayed Blast Fireball, and you also wanted Freedom of Movement. You could conceivably get all 3 of those, because even though you do only get 2 spells of that level, you can use the spell-like ability if you want, or try to sub out other things. So you do have access to a wide variety, or just kind of double down. It's entirely up to you. Then next to that, we have imbues. So you get all the imbues: fire, cold, electric, acid, and poison, allowing you to deal extra damage when you hit enemies. That's not too bad. And as you go further up in the tree, you can pick up like extra imbue dice and breath weapon DCs. You can pick up, where's the extra imbues? This one imbues somewhere. Oh yeah, the imbues are in the core. So you get imbue dice here, I believe. Yeah, +3 imbue dice in Way of the Mighty Dragon, and another +3 imbue dice from Draconic Apotheosis. So I think you actually get a total of 8 out of the tree, or 7, which is pretty good for this type of tree. But on top of that, it scales with spell power. But again, this is in addition to everything else you're getting, because you're kind of picking up a lot of these things along the way. Fortitude saves is kind of whatever. Some spell power, which is kind of nice. Then here's where it starts to get like really, really spicy, is where we get your melee strikes with weapons generate +2 ki, which means if you want to play mostly a spellcaster and you don't want to be meleeing all the time to generate ki to actually cast your abilities, as these abilities actually cost ki in game, all the spells, you can just get this +2 ki, have a fast attacking weapon, go either dual wielding, maybe you pick up whirlwind attack, just get some AoE, so you can generate a huge amount of ki very quickly, and it also gives you ki to fuel some of the epic abilities as well, which can be quite potent for this type of character. So again, we're going to kind of see how that goes, but it's really nice how that kind of plays together. Of course, you have the trance here as well. I'm just going to reset this tree. I can't reset this tree because I don't need money, so I'm going to get some money and reset this tree. Because I wanted to actually show off some of the multi-selectors. You have the light and dark multi-selector, either grabbing the old light fire light if you picked dark, which is the +2 bonus to attack, saving throws, and skills, or you get immunity to stuns for 1 minute, which is the light earth light from the old system. This ability is fantastic and is now significantly less cumbersome, because when you want stun immunity, you just press the button and it gives it to you and everybody around you. Insanely powerful. We had that before as monks, but a lot of people didn't have it or didn't think about it, and taking something out of the combo system and putting it right on the table in front of you makes it significantly easier for your brain to just like clue in and just pick that effect. So this is a significant improvement. But on top of that, you can also get, where is it here? Is that the only one in this tree? I think it's the only one in here. I think I'm thinking about one of the other trees, like with the Hands of Mercy. But on top of that, you might ask yourself, okay, what weapons am I going to be using? You can get extra weapons to be centered with, whether it's hand axes, battle axes, and sickles, light hammers and warhammers, and light picks and heavy picks. Bear in mind, you have to be proficient with these still, and SSG hasn't said if they're going to be adding proficiency with them. I hope they do, but again, we're going to see about that. Like if you take these, you get centered and proficiency. That would be nice, because there's no easy way to get heavy pick proficiency, and heavy picks are bad. So it'd be nice if we could have that proficiency kind of built in, but we'll see. It's going to be a wait and see, okay? And then we have some more spell power, universal crit. And so one of the reasons why I say this tree seems like not too bad is they kind of give you everything you want. Lots of regular spell power, lots of universal crit, all just built into stuff. You got the SLAs, you actually have like melee bonuses, the cores are all stacking up for you. And then of course you have more breath weapon DCs and imbue dice. And then you have the tier 5 for extra breath weapon DCs and all of the different spell DCs, whether you want to go acid, fire, poison, so it's all there. You get magic resistance rating cap, which every single monk really wishes they had more of, more spell critical chance and reduced cooldowns on your special iconic spells, critical threat range and multi and hit points, which is pretty good, and then of course the last SLA. So as a result, Dragon Disciple kind of hits the note of like a really well-designed hybrid tree because you do get the melee stats. Now, do you get all of them? No. You're still going to be missing some hit chance, but you can lean into Shintao for grabbing some of that. You still want to be more defensive. Again, leaning into Shintao. Maybe you want to pick up some more double strike for getting ki faster. Maybe you want to be able to attack quicker, so you grab action boost haste out of the ninja spy tree here, and as well as some extra action boost possibly. And just generally grabbing more attack and damage while centered. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do there, so I wouldn't say like everything is in Dragon Disciple, but it's set up fairly well on its own. Now, I really wanted to take the time to like show you what the spells look like, but not only are they stubs, so I don't have all of the spells, but let's say I press one, there's like not really any art here for the spell. So if I just wanted to go like run over here and cast it on an enemy, so this is Lesser Draconic Burst, the spell you get right at the beginning. If I press the button, like it's, you know, there's no real visual for anything yet keyed into the game. Also, a bunch of the spells like kind of don't function. Generally, some of the effects are too slow, so like they just take too long to cast. But overall, I'm excited about Dragon Disciple. I think it's going to be really cool. It's probably hardest thing is it's difficult to multi-class with it if you want to use the spellcasting element. Now, if you want to multi-class because you just generally want the imbue because you think the imbue is good, maybe you want to pick up breath weapon DCs for a weird build, maybe you just want a wisdom trance and you think Dragon Disciple does something better than the regular monk would, then yeah, I definitely think you can make Dragon Disciple work, but I think that Dragon Disciple is going to be better leaning more towards being pure as opposed to something else. So now let's talk about the couple extraneous things that weren't in there. So number one, I believe, is in Shintao. One of the abilities that people are missing, they base attacks that you use from choosing your Path of Light or Path of Dominion. Those don't exist anymore, and so you used to have the light attack that you would hit a guy and they would be marked, and then when you hit them more, you would get health back from that. Unfortunately, that's like missing, so not good. So they're adding it back in. Instead, it's going to be built into the Hands of Healing effect. So now when you use the AoE heal, it is also going to be applying a debuff to the enemies in range that gives that healing shield effect. So before, you would have to hit a guy, and then it would let anybody who hits that guy, you know, get the health back. Now you can walk into a room, hit the AoE, not only to heal your friends, but it marks all the enemies. So it's much better for AoE if you're using quarterstaffs, if people around you are using different AoEs, you got the whirlwind attack, things like that. A lot more health there. So is it going to be better or worse? It's got a longer cooldown. The animation is going to be longer than just attacking, but it is back, and I think it's back in a more interesting way. So we'll see exactly how it goes. But that part is kind of cool, and I like that. I think it looks good. But yeah, other than that, final thoughts, things that my general opinion seeing this, I'm excited for it. I think that the monk has needed like some reworks for quite a while. I think that there's a lot of things that monk could have been doing better. Ninja Spy just sucks. Before I stopped streaming, pretty much the last thing that I played was a Ninja Spy shuriken thrower on stream, and it just sucks to level. Everything about it feels bad. Nothing about it feels good. Does this fix shuriken leveling? No. But Ninja Spy actually is going to feel a lot better because you won't be entirely bound into the Ninja Spy tree. You can actually put points into Shintao without them feeling like they're useless because the stats will affect you because even though you're not using hand wraps, you can put points in a Henshin Mystic. So generally your Ninja Spy experience is going to be a little bit better. Shintao, honestly, is probably going to be playing exactly the same. You're probably still just going to be using it for hand wraps, so it is what it is, go crazy. And then Henshin Mystic, they just beefed up the crap out of it. Everything is pretty much better about this tree. More damage, more crowd controls, better access to Cauldron of Flame. So it's just pretty much, in my opinion, going to be a straight up improvement over the existing Henshin Mystic. And then Dragon Disciple, as I said, it's a pretty good hybrid. There's still a couple things that are missing. Major problems, other than the fact that literally nothing works in Lamania. So you can't, I'm kind of worried this is probably going to come out in the next couple of weeks and like nothing functions. So hopefully they can kind of get on that, but we'll see. But my biggest thing is the spells, they just take so long to cast. Like, these things cast like their 9th level spells at level 1, and you're like, you're just gonna get mauled. If you don't have Quicken enabled, you're gonna get hit like 50 times in a row and just lose all your spells. If you're a low level player, if you're brand new, you're just not gonna be able to cast anything because you're gonna be getting hit in melee because it just takes way too long to cast. And I understand that, you know, they can be quickened, but like quickening these spells, like look at this. This is a level 1 spell. Quickened, whoosh. Like compare that to shield, right? That's shield duration, and then I quicken it, and whoop, it's done. Right? Almost instant. This quickened, it still takes like so long. It might not seem like a lot, but going from, you know, 0.2 seconds to 0.6 seconds, that's a huge amount of extra time to be wasting. So they really need to trim up duration on some of those spells, kind of really rein it in. I've seen some people calling for the ability to have elemental immunity strip somewhere in the tree. I don't know if that's entirely necessary, simply because, I don't know, I just don't think it matters that much. Because you have access to all the different elements, and also there's so many other ways around it. But Fist of the Dragon sucks, so they could shove it into Fist of the Dragon, make that better. Again, this is not me saying that the ability, like, numbers-wise is bad, but because it uses the slam animation from Rune Arms, where your character is like a heavy wind-up, and then a slam, it's abysmal. You have to go like, and in that time, the other monk standing next to you is using hand wraps, has hit the target like 17 times, and you're like, I'm gonna get him, oh, he's already dead. Damn. So it's a really cool animation, but DDO is just a little bit too fast for that. So if they wanted to throw like the elemental strip into this, so maybe you throw it on bosses, maybe it helps you with that, that'd be kind of cool. But again, I don't really think it's entirely necessary. But generally, looks good. I'm excited for it. Is it perfect? No. There's also a bunch of people that are like upset about, I don't know, people that play Monk a lot more than I do. One of the reasons why I didn't really play a lot of Monk is because there's just a lot of clunk that existed in the Monk. This gets rid of a lot of the clunk in the actual trees just by streamlining things and making it a lot less intimidating for the average player. Oh yeah, also, Flashbang is garbage. This ability only lasts 3 seconds. It says 6. It actually only lasts 3, and it also takes like a million years. You're like whipping the Flashbang out. Stuff like this needs to be way faster. Like imagine, because the closest comparison to makes like, you know, like a shooter, like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield where they have flashbangs. Imagine if to do a flashbang, your character had to like pull out the flashbang, pull off the pin of the grenade, hold it for a second, and then throw it in the duration. Like you just get shot, you're done. Whereas it's in those games, it's like instantaneous how it goes out because it kind of needs to be. You need the flashbang when you want it, and so flashbang having like a huge windup, also not good. So similar thing in DDO, then not helpful if you're dead or the enemies are dead before it actually goes off. Yeah, generally, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Trying to think if there's anything else I can really say about it. Overall, I think that the Monk rework is going to be a good thing for the game. However, as with everything else, my opinion is just one person's opinion. There are a lot of things I think that can be tuned up. As I said, pretty much everything in here is bugged and does not function. There's a ton of bugs. There's some inconsistencies in like the levels of stuff. Like these spells are different levels and they have the same DC. So like, I don't know what's up with that. So there's like a whole bunch of issues that need to get adjusted and solved for. There's still some things that are missing that people do want. They've even said specifically what they're looking for in terms of like feedback. So, you know, kind of what they're doing. So they said that we're thankful for the feedback about monk combo finishers in the threads. As we look in the future, it's valuable, but they're not giving back the combo system because they can just put if there's spells you want that are missing, just be like, I would like it in this tree. Put it here, please. Because the combo system's not coming back. Combo system sucked. I'm totally in the combo system sucked camp. But yeah, so they're like, yeah, let us know. So do give feedback. For all the people that are like, oh, they never give feedback, they don't care about feedback. The only reason why this coming shield thing here is because people complain about it, and then that's why it says coming soon. Like we're planning on doing this. We're planning because people complained about it, and it's there. So if you have a thing you would like to see change, just go in the thread and post in the thread and say, hey, please change this thing. Give your feedback now while you have the chance, while it is still being workshopped. That being said, I think this is coming in like 2 weeks, so I don't know how much time they have to implement a lot of feedback, but we'll see what's going on there. Unrelated news pieces, I'll just throw a tack on at the end of the video. So maybe be like, Strimtom, where the heck are you, dude? What's going on? And there's 2 things. Number 1, I went back to school, which I talked about publicly in a whole bunch of places. I should make a video on it. So I'm doing education. I'm being trained to be a medical laboratory technician, which is pretty cool. So I'm actually soon going to be certified to be a phlebotomist, so I can take your blood if you want. It's kind of neat. because, you know, streaming and making YouTube videos is all fine and good. But as it turns out, eventually, I realized that it would be cool to have a pension. So I decided to go back to school. I know, I chose the pension over gamer life, but it is what it is. And then the other thing, the reason why I specifically haven't been streaming or making other types of content, one, I kind of burnt out a bit on DDO, mostly because the lag was horrific last year. Like pretty much the entirety of last year, the lag was atrocious and abominable, which made it really hard to stream as I went further through the year. And then I moved, which is why I'm in a different location. And the move, where I currently live, my internet is dog water. I can't stream anything. It constantly cuts out all the time. And I don't live in a rural area. I live in the city of Ottawa, the biggest city, not the biggest city, but the capital city of Canada. And I live in an old neighborhood with old cable that just needs to get redone. So literally like 3 blocks that way, I would have no problem. But because I'm in a very old building with old cable, it's just not currently feasible. They're updating the cable this year. So this year, I'm going to be able to get a faster internet speed. But right now, I just have these like micro drops. So I've tried streaming, and what happens is my stream will disconnect. So if you're watching, it literally turns off, and then if you don't reload the page, it won't come back that I'm actually still streaming. It's a bad experience. So until I get that fixed, I won't be streaming, but I'm going to be trying to make DDO content, because still like posting some videos and some builds. Because I've actually been playing on Cormier, and this is the last point of interest I want to talk about is Cormier. When Cormier came out last year, it sucked. It was still laggy. It was just classic laggy DDO. I was excited for 64-bit, and like many of you, I was let down. It just didn't do what I wanted it to do. I lost my hardcore characters when I was pretty high level from just eating it to lag. I died to lag multiple times. Everybody I know died to lag. I would join a quest and have multiple people die to hardcore, like all the hardcore lanterns because of the lag. So for me, put a really bad taste in my mouth for both the beginning of the 64-bit servers and the lantern event. Just like, it was brutal. And then right before Christmas, I got a message from somebody, and they said, yo, dude, you gotta play. No joke, lag's gone. And I don't know what SSG did, but holy moly, like Cormier is not lag free, as in like 100% of the time, but you can probably play for like every 3 to 4 hours, and you might get a 2-second lag spike once. It is crazy. It's like playing a different video game. So I've actually been playing a ton of DDO. I've been TRing. I've been playing a bunch of Wizard. I've got the Critzilla build that I've been running. I've got a support Bard build that I've been running. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So that's why I want to make some more builds. But I just haven't played anything new or interesting. It's just a lot of like meat and potatoes. Wizard, whoa. Critzilla, whoa. So I'm excited with this monk stuff. I want to make some cool monk videos and hopefully have them for you guys, because it'll be kind of interesting to get a chance to kind of poke in with something that's actually new. And that's the other thing too. There's literally been nothing new in DDO. Yeah, the expansion came out, but it was laggy, and everyone hated the gear grind because SSG said, hey, let's put some of the best items with a 1% drop rate when there's still a ransack system, because I don't know. So they did that. And so I skipped all that. I played Mr. Nor. I think the quests are phenomenal. I think the loot is annoying, and so I just haven't really engaged with it that much. But I'm hopeful for some of the more new stuff. All the new quests have been really good. The most recent quest pack with the rats, the were-rats, is amazing. Top tier, great storytelling, and just really, really fun to go through. 100% recommend. Looking forward to the new raid. So hopefully all is well, but we'll see. I'm rambling, so that's going to be the end of the video. So thank you guys for watching. We had a fantastic time. I have been Guy who's gained 15 pounds, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.